Today, I would like to discuss the path from passion to profit. The majority of people that I meet are searching for satisfaction in life, whatever the goals might be, that human beings finding meaning and purpose in their existence is a very important thing to us. If we don't have it, we're very much empty because we create our own fullness. Okay, and society often leaves us feeling trapped. It's not uncommon that the responsibilities that surround us, whether it's paying the mortgage, the utility bills, the credit card bills, taking care of the children, etc., 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 etc. There are so many different ways that we can wall ourselves off from our own lives just because we feel the pressure that's applied to us because of the requirements of living. You know, we feel responsibility to others and so forth. These responsibilities, though, will often keep us from attaining our personal fulfillment and satisfaction in life. And it's never going to be anyone else around us that's happy if we ourselves are not happy with our lives. This is really important to remember. I've been in this position. I've been there. I've done many things that I really didn't want to have to do, not necessarily directly on my own behalf, but for my children, or for the family, and so on. And so we do this. But following our passion in life, check, have a look. If you have no passions, then I take a check at my ID and make sure that you actually are human. And if you are human and you still don't think you have any passions, then I think maybe it's a time that you do some soul searching, because a human being is an empty vessel without radiance from within, where we find something in our hearts that's important to us and we pursue it in life. This is what passions are, I believe. The guy who doesn't believe in anything. I do believe that for each and every one of us there is sort of a perfect niche. There's a place where we can all be as much as we can be as individuals. This is not necessarily metaphysical or spiritual. It's just, kind of process of elimination. Obviously, not everybody is well adapted to everything. Some of us are better as carpenters. Some are better as software engineers. Some of us should be artists. Others should be farmers. There's all kinds of places that pull at our heart. And each and every one of us does have that place. Perhaps we create it by ourselves. Perhaps not, and it's faded in our lives. I don't know. I tend to believe we create most of our own realities by the way we see our lives. And so, however it works, there is a place for each and every one of us, and it's really important to find it. And I think it's important to learn to follow synchronicity. That is, when you see multiple events that somehow seem to come together and point in one direction. Synchronicities are oftentimes, I think, the road signs in life towards finding ourselves. Learning how to detect them, how to acknowledge them, and how to follow them when you're attempting to try to find your passion and develop your passion into the field of profit. It's really important that we follow the synchronicities, because oftentimes one thing leads to another like a staircase in life. So learning to see it is very important. Often in the beginning, when we first start on this journey, the path isn't real clear. We may have some ideas, and so, as I say, one thing can lead to another, and so taking what it is that's in front of us and beginning to develop it from there, you may see other things begin to unfold. It's kind of like going to college and you start studying one major, but once you get involved, you suddenly realize that, wow, you really got a thing for something else. And that's how it works. The opportunities present themselves to you as time goes along. In that process, I believe that it's truly important to keep your eye on the outcome. Don't worry about the details. The details will fill themselves in as you go along. Do not sweat the small stuff. Oftentimes people are locked in and dragged down by tiny details of life. They get swallowed in them, thinking, well, if I want to go here and do that, but then there's this and there's that and that and that. Ignore it. Focus on the goal. Those details will find a way to work themselves out as you move yourself forward. Don't become bound down in them, because they can become the chains of life. I also recommend be careful who you entrust your futures to. It's been my observation that if I have an idea and I bring it out to the rest of the world, to whoever it is, whether it be your family members or your friends or your relationships, be careful who you entrust this to, because they can have a serious influence on what you do. Because when you bring your ideas forward and you share them with others, there are people who will treat them with care and respect, and you probably know who those folks will be. Then there are others who will oftentimes just give you a negative reaction to whatever you bring forward. My experience in life is it's at least 80-20. If I have an idea and I think of something and I bring it out and I say, hey, check this out, it's 80% of the time that I'm going to get negative feedback from people. Now, I don't really understand why that is, but I have seen it repeated over and over and over again. I think some of it has to do with just our plain fear of change, or fear of things that are different, and so on. That may be what the basis of it is, that nobody really means badly when this happens, but it just seems to be the first initial reaction. There's only a few people I can usually trust with an idea. If I bring it forward and I say, I'm thinking of this, and the reaction I get is then one that will help propel me forward. As an example to that, I recall when I was a young man deciding that I wanted to go into organic farming. And this is an odd thing, really. Farming is not usually a lucrative profession and so on. There's so many things you could do in your life that will at least be more profitable and maybe less work too. But I got that idea, and so I went ahead and I posed the idea to a number of people who, again, negativity. I got a whole lot. If I had listened to a lot of these people, I never would have been where I am today. But my stepfather, who was a fairly wise man, he's gone now, but when I brought the idea to Ed, I said, gee, Ed, I'm thinking about being a farmer, an organic farmer. And, well, his dad was an organic farmer. And so he had a connection there. And the truth is, he enlisted in the Army during the Korean War because he couldn't stand farming. But despite that experience, he gave me an honest answer. And the answer was, Bill, if you get an idea and you want to pursue it in life, go for it. Don't sit on your hands or sit on the idea, because life has a way of wearing you down and turning your dreams into dust. If you don't move as you get the motivation and you have the energy behind you, and I had the youth behind me and the strength in my body, and he just said, go ahead and do it. But do it now. Don't wait. Don't put obstacles in your path, because if you place obstacles in your path, chances are you're going to trip over them and you're never going to get to that goal. It was some of the smartest information anybody has ever given me in my life. I have run my life by it. It parallels to the time that I took lessons in rock climbing and mountain climbing. When you're on a rock face and hand over hand over hand, foot over foot, looking for niches and cracks in the rock, you can't hesitate. If you hesitate, you lose your energy and you will probably fail. But if you just keep climbing, it's called power climbing, you make it. So that aspect of being careful who you give your ideas to, what kind of feedback you get, how much that feedback means to you, and whether or not it will stop you from what you're trying to do. And oftentimes, any unusual idea is socially going to be unacceptable. And so if you listen to this stuff, you're not going to get where you want to go, because that idea came from your heart. It's your passion. There's something driving you there. And the best ideas that we will ever have in life are the type of thing that we might have been doing for nothing anyway. That's hard for other people to understand. And I think many of us have unresolved issues and wishes in our lives, that we live in one state of survival mode and of economics and of job and day in, day out, drudgery of the grind and nose to the grindstone, as my grandpa used to say, and on the other hand, maybe we feel for something else. We see a greater vision. There are things we wish for in our lives that are then unfulfilled if we allow the pressures of society and life to be able to stop us from pursuing the passion that's in our heart. You end up oftentimes building walls around that passion. It's as if, we live in a urban wasteland of decaying structures and so on, and we're racing down the wall that we build, looking for a niche somewhere that we can find a hole through that wall. And if we find the hole, the place where we can escape outside of the walls that we build around our passion, we end up entering a field, basically, of flowers, nature, and sunlight. And life then tends to become more of a dance and more of a song as we head off for that kind of freedom. It's entirely possible, and it's something I know in my life I had pursued for a long time until I finally found the hole in the wall. When I found the hole in the wall, my life changed, and I tended to be released from the walls that I had built around what was going to be appropriate for me. So it's first identifying the things that we would do in our lives for nothing. I grew plants and gardens throughout my life just because I loved the experience. I played music in my life just because I loved the experience. And so learning to identify these things is very important. And as in my own case, for instance, as a young man, I had made a choice that I was going to work as a musician. The reason I did that was because I didn't see that it was going to do the world harm, that it was going to be good for myself and other people around me. It was a positive thing. I started to enter the workplace during the Vietnam War when there were a lot of people building bomb fuses, landmines, packing bullets, making armament, and so on. The country was geared up industrially towards that war. And I didn't see myself as wanting to contribute to that mess. It was bad enough I was part of the draft. So I looked for positive things that I could do. Music seemed right. I didn't like that idea of standing in a line waiting for a time clock in American industry, wearing a gray work suit and going, "Hello, Charlie," carrying a lunchbox and punching the card, day in, day in, day out. It looked like a good way to kill your soul and to kill your mind. I loved music, so I pursued it. Well, once I got inside the business, eventually I realized that the lifestyle really wasn't for me, and so that despite the fact music was a passion, it wasn't really the best career for me. So that was a stepping stone, because along the way I had been growing plants, farming part-time and so on. I made a transition eventually to say, the music's an interesting hobby and I like it, but it's not the way I'm going to make my money. And so I changed my career path into horticulture and business too, which was important. One of the reasons I never made a good living on music was because I was a terrible business head. A certain amount of education through life, long process, I learned to be better at doing business. So that helped. But changing my career so that horticulture was the basis of where I was going to draw my income from was the excellent solution. What I'm posing here is that when you follow your heart, you follow your passion, oftentimes one step leads to another. And you can gradually move towards a situation where your passion will free you. Where in our society today, where we have to pay the bills, the best situation anybody could ever be in is to have that vehicle that pays the bills be the thing that you would have done for nothing anyway, so that it's not a load, so that you feel fulfilled, so that you feel you're doing something from your heart and soul that's also paying the bills. So I don't even hardly notice the flow of money going in and out. For me, money's become an abstract concept because it just happens. And it happens just because of what I do, being me. So being Bill pays the bills. Ooh, weird. Time has its limitations. Most of us really never remember growing old. We oftentimes wake up one day and suddenly realize, oh my God, I've gotten old. I'm not young anymore. That's certainly my case. And at that point, you probably realize that your time that you have left is only so much. And so every moment in the present actually matters. There's no such thing as wasted time. To me, youth is a lot like drinking tequila. You drink tequila, you become invincible. Youth is like tequila in that you feel that you have all the time in the world, nothing can stop you, and so on. And then one day, suddenly, you find that you can't ride a Brahma Bull anymore. You find that power shifting a Harley Davidson down the highway at 120 miles an hour was probably not the best thing to do, because you realize you're no longer invincible, and you can die, or you can maim yourself. And so how you spend your time and what your interests are can become very, very important, because you run out of time. Time is a way of eroding and eating dreams. Like a garden, life has to be tended. You need to go out and you need to pull the weeds out of it. You need to put on good fertilizer. You got to foster the passion. Okay, you have to take care of it the same way you do your vegetables. So it's sort of like pulling out the weeds of negativity, either the ones that you yourself have planted there or the ones you've allowed other people to bring in, so you've absorbed them, made them your negativity, and they grow up in the garden. It's hard to be positive about your situation when you feel that you're living in a box. And so people who are positive about themselves, their lives will often inspire others around them. This energy that you project literally helps everyone grow. A great example, I think, actually, is the other day I was, feeling a little depressed over the trolls on the internet, and I had folks who listen and watch this channel come back to me in scores, just so many people saying, Bill, keep it up, Bill, it's cool, keep it up. Your friends can support you in life. When you are radiating a positive energy and you're doing something out of your heart, the effect it has on others around you can feed back too. So it goes around in full circles. Angry people basically burn their own dreams. They basically are intimidated by others who actually do feel fulfilled. It's the unfulfillment that creates the anger. As they say, misery likes company, and so angry people will try to burn the people around them in order to watch them suffer. So you have to be strong enough to be able to ground the negativity, whether it's yours or whether it's coming from outside, meaning just like an electrical circuit, as it comes in, instead of letting it snag and become part of your being, you have to let it flow back into the earth where it came from, because it's really more about them than it is about you. Generally speaking, people who criticize you, people who try to hurt you, that wasn't your fault. You didn't do that, and so there's no reason that you should be taking responsibility for it. There's a point in my life where I suddenly realized all the people that had hurt me throughout my life, that I was carrying the anger inside of me about these people. I got to a point where I couldn't even remember who they were, what they looked like, what their names were anymore, or what they had even done, but yet the anger persists, and it warps their being. You have to let it go. That's really important in the process of finding your passion. It's important that we let our anger go, because the negativity and the anger we have builds walls around us, and it destroys our lives. We never reach our goals when we feel that the world has beat us down, and that we're not getting a fair shake, and that we can't dig our way out. This is all negativity stuff, You got to be positive about it. You got to let that stuff go through you, and you got to be able to say, I see where I want to go. Anger and negativity, it's going to keep you from reaching your perfect life purpose. You got to be clear. You got to be positive. You got to be basically happy to find yourself. Because when you do find yourself, it's a really wonderful and warm place to be. You get up in the morning going, I'm so lucky to be me. That's the kind of feeling you can get when you achieve a profit and a career through the passion that you feel in life. So liberation creates freedom. Synchronicity. I have mentioned the word once or twice already, but synchronicity and possibly even destiny, it's hard to say. Again, I don't believe in much, but it seems like when I have important things that come on in life, important realizations, things that I need to do, for some reason or another, it seems like things that are disconnected, that are unrelated, will suddenly pop up and start to fit together, almost like pieces in a puzzle. I don't know if the rest of you have ever had this experience. It's common in my life. It happened today. I woke up middle of the night last night, laying there staring at the ceiling, and I went, oh my God, I never even noticed the fact that I was growing old. I generally don't feel old. I'm told I don't even look that old. But truth is, I'm getting there. If I got 30% of my life left on this planet, that's about it. Okay, that's a best case scenario probably. And I just suddenly realized that I had grown old, and I had never noticed that happen. And so that brought to mind that I'm running out of time. And later on I got up. My lungs were hurting me, my respiratory system, because I've been chasing volcanoes around the island, and my lungs aren't in the best of shape. I spent a lot of years smoking cigarettes like a lot of people of my generation. I quit it a long time ago, but the damage is done, and I don't take bad air as well as I probably could if I hadn't done that to myself. And the sulfur, while being near some of these situations, like up on the top of the volcano here, filming the eruption the other day, air was filled with sulfur. It kind of inflamed my respiratory system because I was there too long. Well, I'm aware that thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, the herb, that the thymol, that's an oil that's in the thyme, aromatic oil, that's really good for respiratory issues. And so if you boil thyme into a tea and then you inhale the steam, it brings the gases up, the oil comes up in the steam, and it's soothing, and it will help alleviate discomfort. Well, I have thyme in the garden, and I'm going, okay, the most typical natural thing I have around here to deal with this sore feeling in my chest from sulfur is that I'm going to inhale steam laced with thyme. I went out in the garden, I started picking thyme, and I looked at what I had, and I went, oh man, I'm running out of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E. Oh, well, wait a minute. Well, it means I got to propagate more, and I've been working on that. But if I want to keep enough thyme around here to be able to both put thyme in my eggs in the morning and also inhale thyme as a tea, I'm going to have to get more of it. So I'm running out of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E, but it was the middle of the night I realized T-I-M-E. I was running out of thyme. I mentioned it to Ellen, and Ellen says, you know, there's a friend of mine on Facebook who suddenly had that same epiphany last night. He was running out of thyme. He figured he still had some and wasn't near, but he better start paying attention to what he had left and living in the moment. Well, I call this a synchronicity. All right, I mean, you know, maybe I'm putting three things together that don't fit, but this is the kind of stuff that happens in my life. It's how I got to Hawaii. I've said before that I felt like I was pushed from behind to end up here. This was not a thing I planned out intellectually from the get-go. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I did a lot of planning, and there was a whole lot of that involved. But that isn't how it got started, and it isn't how it ended up either. So synchronicities fell in. Understanding these things and being in tune to them. Synchronicities probably have a lot to do with destiny, and of course that's an argument. Anytime I start talking about destiny with people, you know, some people believe in it, some don't. My opinion is, if life has meaning, then life also has destiny and fate, because there are certain places that we need to be at certain times in order for meaning to happen. You know, we have free will within our lives. Life is like a tapestry, it's like a rug, and we're weaving it and we're making the pattern as we go along. There's a whole lot of stuff inside that pattern that we can take it anywhere we want to. On the other hand, there are places where it's got to knot together. And those places are what I call destiny or fate. They're aperture moments in what's occurring. And synchronicities in the pattern tend to be the road signs that point us at these places. Those places are important to reach the best outcome that you can have in your life. I think there's just things that we're going to end up doing, certain of us, you know, and finding the pattern and weaving it in rather than resisting. Resisting is easy to do, and especially when the pressures of life keep us from following the passion, because the passion is the energy that runs the pattern. This is a repeat too, but I've said before, I don't believe in much, but the one thing I do believe in is me. And by believing in me, and believing that one of my jobs here is making the world a better place. I believe this most of my life. So it's kind of, in a way, it's one of my passions or directions, is that whatever it is that I do, whenever I decide to do it, I need to remember that footnote. Will this accomplish that goal? And it's been a good one. And if you attempt to make the world a better place for yourself, in turn, it helps other people make their lives better too. That energy flows over, and it helps to propel others. And in this case, I do believe that you, my viewers, you are the proof that what I'm saying is correct. Because I got here doing this because of what I believed in, and when I put it forward to you in the form of YouTube videos, And it just keeps coming back to me in spades. I mean, really, it's just amazing what comes back to me. And so my positive energy helps feed your positive energy, and your positive energy comes back here. And the lucky guy here is the one that has, I don't know, over 13,000 subscribers and 3 million views that definitely affirm I've got to be on the right track in life because of the energy that comes up from it. You're the proof. So I encourage you not to allow yourselves to be pigeonholed or stereotyped. In my own life, all through, people are always trying to put me in a box. They go, oh, he's this or he's that, you know. He's an environmentalist. And I'd say, no, I'm just a guy that I breathe air, I drink water, you know. People say, oh, you're being political, you know. No, it's just that politicians sometimes get in the way of what's real here on this planet. And I'm in a reality. I'm not into politics, for instance, you know. So you get pigeonholed. Doctors will slap tags on you. Oh, you're a diabetic, you know. Well, I tend to believe that a whole lot of our physical problems are actually based in emotional situations. They're related to traumas we've had within our lives, and they turn the way our body works in such a way that it doesn't work right anymore, and everything goes out of balance. And so when they throw a tag on you, they say, oh, well, you're bipolar, you know, because your moods swing back and forth. Actually, you get in the situation to begin with mostly because of the way you're thinking about things, you know. And while it becomes a disease, it becomes a label, and then they'll treat it, you know, and you'll be stuck in a box in the process because other people will judge you on the basis of that. It's quite natural. People want to feel they understand, you know. They want to categorize. My job has been to keep jumping out of the boxes. Anytime somebody throws a box over me and says, this is what you are, I go, sorry, not. And that's at me. Here, and here's why, you know. Oh, you're spiritual. No, I'm not, and I'll tell a dirty joke, okay? You're foul and you're crude. No, I'm not, and I'll come up with a high intellectual idea, you know. I am what I am. I'm just Bill, and that's what I am. And I'm not what you think I am. And so when you try to categorize me, I'm probably going to intentionally jump out of the way and change color and become chameleon and turn myself into something else. My character tends to be rather mercurial, so that's easy for me to do. Not so easy for everybody else, but beware of being pigeonholed. Because if you allow people to do that, you may believe what they're telling you, and then you'll lead your life based on some confinement that's been generated by somebody else who has an idea that likes to keep things in nice regimented orders, you know. Well, human beings are not that way. Life is not that way. Life flows. It dances. It has waves. It does the hula, okay? It doesn't sit in boxes. 90-degree angles and straight lines. A great friend of mine, one of my mentors in life, said, human beings went wrong. It all went to heck the day we invented the straight line and the wheel. Oh, I like driving around in my car. I think roads are great, but boy, old Freddie, he had a point. He really did. You know, in general, nature never has 90-degree angles or straight lines or perfect circles usually. Everything is a little elliptical, everything wobbles, everything dances. And if you're not wobbling and dancing, you're missing out on one of the best parts of being alive. Also, to find the truth, you have to let go of everything that you believe in. Because belief will stop your ability to understand reality. Belief creates illusions. Your beliefs may or may not be real or true, but whatever it is you believe in, that belief is a block between you and whatever is actually happening. The only way you can find out what's actually happening is by opening yourself up. You just kind of let it come through you. And it's easier when you're approaching life from the passion in your heart, because that's a true thing. And by following it, truth will tend to follow you. So to wrap this all up, the only reason I'm saying it is that I know there's a lot of people out there that come to me and go, geez, Bill, you got it made. God, Bill, you're so lucky. Some of my close friends always tell me, Bill, everything you do seems to work out. Why is that? Well, yeah, I'm not a perfect situation either, and I have caused myself to fail many, many, many times because of the way I approach things. But through that, I learned a couple important lessons. And that is, you got to be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, you'll be true to others around you. If you follow what's in your heart, and then in our society, if you use that energy in order to be able to create the economy that we have to live under, you'll find that you're not going to be a slave to a time clock or to a job, and instead you're going to be able to live in grace, and you're going to be able to love what you do and love everybody else that's around you, and the rest of the world is going to feel it when it happens, and they're going to come back to you with it. I am often told that there's a lot of awful negative stuff out there, and there's people going to kill you, and that the world's an ugly and awful place. Well, that is true. It's true. But it's kind of like I'm up here on this hill in a rather safe location where the air is really good on this island. And I'm looking downwards towards a spot in the island where the lava is erupting, people are losing their homes, people are suffering. It looks from here like living hell in Lower Puna. Most of the time I feel like I'm living in heaven because it's a good life. I like it. And so here we have a great example of where one person in the same space is living in heaven, and the next one with an eyesight seems to be living in hell. The two ride the same bus to work together in the morning. Heaven and hell exist simultaneously within a single reality, divided only by our experiences and the way we view them. That said, follow your passion, follow your heart. For more on that subject, anybody who is not familiar with Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, a lot of his stuff's on YouTube. Check out Joe Campbell. Joe has the same thing to say, and in fact, it's probably where I first learned it from, was from Joe. It's an excellent source of information and a great mentor of mine that I will definitely recommend to all the rest of you to help make your lives a better place and make this a better world. Well, I still have time to say that. Aloha. Thank you so much for